We're going to be talking about the patient experience. The invitation indicated that we would also talk about somebody named Jill. And Jill was very special to me at the hospital experience I had with my mother. I was flying back from a trip. I landed, I turned my phone on, and it blew up with text messages, phone calls, voicemails, 911 emergency, call home as soon as possible. My husband sent me a text and it said, "Your mom has fallen. She's at the hospital. You need to call me." And I ran to my car and I drove to this hospital and found my mother in the ER with my dad. My mom had fallen. She had completely crushed her shoulder in the fall. She had hit her head a little bit, but she was doing okay in that area. And we had a pretty traumatic experience in the ER. They got ready to discharge her and she passed out in the chair and I thought she died. So they admitted her that night and we had just the longest day. I think she got to the hospital around 10 or 11. We had kind of a traumatic ER experience. We were transported to the area where they were processing her to get to a unit in a room, and she was scared, tired, hadn't gone to the bathroom, was just overwhelmed. And so was I. Eventually, we got to our patient room, and at this point, I was sure, first of all, I wasn't leaving my mother alone. I was upset, angry, and so we're sitting there in the hospital room waiting, and then in walked Jill. Jill smiled. Jill was happy. Jill greeted us. She made us feel valued. She made my opinion feel important. I never questioned whether or not Jill knew anything about my mother. She asked me about the ER. She asked me about every step in the process. And then she explained that everything was going to be okay. And it was almost like I had my child in that patient bed and I was questioning whether I could trust this hospital with my child until Jill walked in that room. Now, in the back of my head, after she left, and I was so calm, it was so funny, she left, and I thought, I feel so much better. And then I'm like, what just happened? What just happened? Because I was so angry. And I thought through what I knew she knew. I knew the technology she was using. I knew the nursing staff that I was experiencing. But I knew everything that was going to be better. I knew that she was on it. I knew that she had heard me. I knew that everybody was going to respond in kind to make sure my mother was taken care of. We were safe. We were cared for. And nothing mattered more to them than my mom. So in that moment, my whole view of leadership rounding changed. My whole view of how you use technology to empower process changed. It was being able to spend the time to connect, to communicate about the pain medication, to communicate about what was going to happen in that hospital. And it was totally different for me from that moment on. We left that hospital being fully educated about our medications for my mom, feeling very cared for and loved. And I actually had published a blog, and then there was Jill after that experience, because I wanted people to know that one person can make an impact. One person can change the experience of a patient and their family. One person that walks in joyfully confident about what she's doing or he's doing can really connect with a patient and a family member and change the entire care perspective. We were in our emergency room experience to Jill. We stayed in that hospital for a couple of days. We came back to that hospital to have the surgery done. And think about it. Jill made that impact. Jill, and then every person after Jill going forward. But we chose that hospital to do the surgery. We chose that hospital to do all the follow-up care, all the rehab care, all the subsequent visits that my mother will end up having, because Jill took a moment and connected and loved us exactly where we are and made sure we were cared for.